Welcome back to Rock Guitar Confidential with Scott and Ryan. Hey, do you have tickets to see your favorite band? Is it really your favorite band? Or is it a tribute band? Find out coming up next.
You know, it's funny. I went and saw 65, that new Adam Driver dinosaur.
Oh, how
movie.
was that?
It was actually pretty good. I liked it. It was cool. It was not as fast paced as I would have hoped, but it was a good story. It was a cool movie. But it was funny. The previews. I was thinking about you when I was watching the previews because like every preview of that movie was like a horror movie. They had like one was the Pope's Exorcist.
Nice.
And then they had the Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, can't wait.
And then it was Boogeyman. Which is the scene is like as a parent, it was actually pretty horrifying. As I've actually lived that scene in my real life.
Oh, perfect.
It's like the little girl's in bed and he's like, "Why is it so light in here?" She's like, "I think something's in the closet." And he walks in there, opens the door, and he's like, "I don't see anything." And he closes, the thing, and then all of a sudden, she's in bed with her lights on still, and all of a sudden the door opens, and then it kicks open.
Rad.
And she wakes up and she looks, and then something shuffles under her bed.
Oh, that's so cool.
And she's like, "Oh my God." And she has like this little ball and she puts it under the bed and like rolls it back. And then
A little stress ball.
This little light with a light in it though. And then something horrible's under there and they cut away at the end. I'm like going,
oh,
this
rad.
is right up Brian's alley.
Oh, it totally is.
One after the other. It's like that. And then the next one's like Evil Dead Rises. And it's like
that's
this woman
great.
with her like dead mom in her bed. And she's like, and
Nice.
she's like, "I missed you. You were so great." And this fly lands in the mom's eye and she blinks.
Yeah.
And all this stuff. And it's like, it was just horrifying. Everything.
Oh,
was
that's
just,
great.
And then after
and
that
you took your kids to the movies.
No, I didn't
and
take the
they
kids
saw
to this one. No, because it was actually recon because I wasn't. My son loves dinosaurs, and so it's one
Right.
of those things where it's like, okay, I'll go see if this movie's okay with you. I would say it's a little too boring. It's not even this that like there's not just wall to wall action like in a Jurassic World movie.
Too much character development.
Yeah, exactly.
For,
and it's like
the
kind
Jurassic
of
Park
there's
set.
like deeper themes like do I want to keep living and all this kind of these things going on like that I don't think he would like appreciate. Like where's the dinosaurs?
So I might like this movie.
It's a good movie. I liked it. But no, the Pope's Exorcist actually looks pretty interesting too. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that. I thought about you. I'm like, dude, Ryan would be like in his element here. This is all horror movies.
So they just wrapped filming on the first follow-up film. Well, the next follow-up film to The Exorcist.
Oh, what? Like a sequel? Like a direct sequel?
Yeah. Like Ellen Burstyn's returning.
That's a trip.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So are they gonna?
I hope it's gonna be awesome.
Well, I mean, I know that you do enjoy your horror movies, so I was
do.
like, I was thinking about
especially my possession horror movies.
Yeah, you're gonna be in it, man. There's all kinds of that coming out.
Oh,
so
that's
you're
so
really
good to
dig
know.
that. So anyway, welcome to the Rock Guitar Confidential Podcast with Brian and Scott. This is not movie talk. We're here to talk guitar, and today's topic is what, Ryan?
Today's topic is legacy bands with no or few original members. Are they still that band? Does it matter?
And are we okay with that?
Is it really a tribute band at that point? Or who cares?
But I think one thing we should probably define is like, what does it even mean when we say the original band? Because if you think about it, like in Dokken, for instance, Juan Crucier is an original member of that band.
Right, or Rat Jakey Lee was an original member of that band.
Exactly.
So,
but do we mean actual original member, or do we mean like, the member that we think of when we think of that band? Because to me, like I think of Dokken, I think of Jeff Pilson, Mick Brown, George Lynch, and Don Dokken. I think of Rat, it's Robin Crosby, Warren DeMartini, Juan Crucier, Bobby Blotzer, and Stephen Pearcy. That's what Rat is.
Right.
Then you have bands like Whitesnake, where like who the hell knows what the original members of that? I mean, is it Mickey Moody and Marston, or Bernie Marston, or is it like? I think for me and for a lot of people, when we think of Whitesnake, we either think of John Sykes, or we think of Adrian Vandenberg and Vivian Campbell, and maybe Steve Vai. That's like who we think of as the members of that band. I mean,
I think mostly John Sykes defined the most full sound for Whitesnake.
Without question. Yeah. He's like the guy. And then you can say like Vandenberg and Vai after that. Sort of, but there's a whole prehistory. Same with the Scorpions. Like the original members of Scorpions are like Uli Roth. There's nobody that we think of as the Scorpions, with the exception of Matthias. I'm sorry, with the exception of oh my gosh, Rudolf Schenker and Klaus Meine. That's like the only two members that were in the original member of the band. Right. But everyone thinks of Matthias Jabs as an original member.
But I think these days, if Matthias Jabs or Jab, how do you pronounce his last name?
I always call him Jabs.
I thought it was Jabs.
It was like Jab.
Like when you go yogging.
He's like, I'm gonna go see the new movie, The Yoker.
Right. So So I guess maybe the original band isn't the right classification. Maybe the legacy band,
classic version of that band, maybe.
The classic lineup,
exactly. But then again, that's even very subjective because there are like Scorpions fans who only like the Uli era stuff, and there's Scorpion fans or only the Schenker, Love Drive people, and there's like
I don't know any Scorpions fans who are like the Herman Rarebell or nothing.
The Francis Buchholz only.
Right. If we don't have Francis Buchholz, right, then forget it.
But I think that most people would say like kind of with the Blackout lineup is kind of the classic Scorpions lineup. You know what I mean? Metallica, Cliff Burton. That's
when I was in elementary school, I probably already mentioned this on a previous podcast, but my best friend and I thought that Blackout went, I really had a big lunch.
It's a strong German accent.
I really had a big lunch. Big lunch.
So I guess what we're trying to do is define terms, though. Like, what does that even mean when we say original band? And then are we getting upset over nothing? Because who the hell even can define what that really is?
Ozzy Osbourne really painted himself into a corner.
When they replace him, it's gonna be so embarrassing.
Right.
Same with Yngwie Malmsteen. It's like.
Well, Yngwie J. Malmsteen.
Yes, this is Yngwie R. Malmsteen's Rising Force. This other guy.
That would be the best name for an Yngwie tribute band, Yngwie R. Malmsteen, and that just settles it.
Yeah, I mean, he actually now is kind of a tribute band to himself. Really, he's breaking new territory. You know what I mean? But no, that's something that's coming out because a lot of these bands, like if you think about it, who are the best bands that's selling tickets, who are making a lot of bringing a lot of people in to see shows. A lot of it's legacy bands like AC/DC. Like AC/DC last tour, like they really, it was just what Cliff Williams and Angus and everyone else in the band was not original member. It was a different drummer. It was a different guitar. Stevie Young was playing guitar, because obviously Malcolm's no longer with us.
Right.
And Axl Rose was singing. Is that still?
At least Stevie Young is in the family.
Yeah, that's true. But is that still AC/DC? You know what I mean?
Well, you mentioned Axl Rose. So was Brian Johnson? Is he done?
No, he's back in the band now.
He's back because I know he had to take a break
Something about his
for a
hearing,
while.
but that last tour was not. It was really just Cliff Williams and Angus. That's the only two people in the band who were like from the classic AC/DC thing. I mean, I guess you can argue as long as you have like the most important member, like Angus in that band, is probably the most important
well, and
member.
Brian Johnson had a number of decades to establish himself.
No, I think Brian Johnson's awesome. I love that.
That work was done early, starting with Back in Black.
Aerosmith, if they toured without Joey Kramer, would anybody notice? You know what I mean? But they tour without Joe Perry and Steven Tyler, then that's a big deal. You know what I mean? That's who's going to see that. You know what I mean? Like if Van Halen were to tour without Eddie, you can't do that. You know,
which for Aerosmith is too bad because the other guitar player,
Brad Whitford.
Yeah, Brad Whitford is the guy.
He's awesome. I know.
He's awesome.
He's a great guitar player.
He's the best guitar player in Aerosmith.
Oh, for sure. No doubt about it. It's so funny how that works. But I mean, even like Guns N' Roses, as successful as they are, you have really just Duff, Slash, and Axl. But then everyone else in the band is not original. So, but does anyone care that there's not the rhythm guitar player and the drummer's not?
I'd like
Steven?
to see Aerosmith hire Sylvester Stallone to play Joe Perry for a few shows.
He could probably do a great job, actually.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, yo, hey. Yeah, but I guess like if you think about it, like Metallica has had Robert Trujillo in the band for like 20 years now. Does anyone care that he's not Cliff or Jason? You know what I mean? I think I've cared that there's no Cliff in Metallica for 30 years now. But yeah, that's because you're an original fan. But if you're like a younger person coming into you've only known Robert Trujillo as the bassist in that band.
And he's great.
Yeah, probably the best bass player they've ever had, actually. He's an incredible player. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's a great player.
Yeah.
Cliff had all the good musical ideas.
Yeah, he was a great writer.
So for bands like AC/DC and Metallica, they...
Megadeth, I mean, my God, everyone. Yeah. Which lineup of the 20 lineups of Megadeth? It's really just the Dave Mustaine band. At the end of the day, it's not really like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there like a definitive? I mean, I think for me as a fan, I would say the Rust in Peace lineup is the definitive Megadeth lineup.
Totally.
That's the of course Nick is not with us any longer, but you Ellefson and Friedman and Mustaine. That's like the classic Megadeth lineup.
Yeah. So there's a bunch to unpack there. I think Metallica and AC/DC had a lot more runway to establish themselves with new lineups. Same with Iron Maiden, then, if you want to go that direction.
And Iron Maiden, if you consider the original lineup of Iron Maiden, like Adrian Smith and Bruce Dickinson, and frankly, even Nico McBrain, were not even in that band. It was just Dave Murray and Steve Harris were the only original members in that band. The lineup we think of as Iron Maiden, we think of Adrian and Dave, with Steve and Nico and Bruce. That's the classic lineup of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, well, there's the Paul Diano stuff.
Yeah, but then they had
again,
different. They had
there.
Dennis Stratton on guitar on the first one. They didn't have Adrian, and then Adrian played on the second record, and it was still him. And then they got rid of him, and So I guess which lineup of Iron Maiden are you? I mean, I think for most people who are Iron Maiden fans, it's kind of the Number of the Beast lineup is what they kind of think of, as like the classic lineup, of that band. You know what I mean?
I think it boils down to the singer and the guitar player.
Yeah, or well, whoever the most important member of the band is. Like for Rush, you have 3 equally important members.
Right, such a rarity.
Yeah, and if you look at Triumph, same thing. There's 3 equally important members.
I was just about to mention Triumph.
Yeah, that's that kind of thing. Well, just amazing Canadian bands.
Just going Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about April Wine, you always sorry. Got to go all Canadian there. No, but there's whoever the most important iconic members of the band are, which is why the Guns N' Roses has no problem touring, even if it was just Axl and Slash. They could still tour as Guns N' Roses and no one would blink an eye. It's like, oh yeah, of course.
Slaxel.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? That I think. I don't know. That's a crazy thing to me. So there you have that kind of thing. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have a band that I love, like Queensryche, where there's only 2 original members in that band now. You know what I mean? And with a new singer who's been in the band like 10, 12 years, and he's a great singer.
Right. Todd Latore is great. I still wish music. I still wish that Jamie Lee Curtis were still in Queensryche.
She's too busy winning Oscars now.
Right.
No, but
she should. I thought she could be everywhere all at once.
I look at that band though, and I think of them as sort of like. They're a new thing. They're building on a legacy of an old thing, but their new stuff is amazing too. So they have a catalog of new music that's great, and they have a legit right to tour on that music.
They aren't just skating on the hits or the most popular.
They are. They're still playing those hits, but they've got something brand new to offer too, which is great.
I hope we get to find out this coming Thursday.
I also do. Yes, but then you have bands like Foreigner, who there's literally no original members. It started like you had one original member.
Wait, isn't Mick Jones still in Foreigner?
He's like the CEO of Foreigner. He's not actually performing in the band anymore.
He's not on stage anymore?
I mean, I guess he'll come out like once in a while and
I thought he did the whole set.
No, he hasn't done that in a couple years. He's in really ill health. So he's not really touring with the band anymore. And so he'll come out like, they play in LA or they play in, someplace. He'll come out and do like a song, that kind of thing. And so he's still like, the guy who's like running the show, but he's not like part of the band per se.
He's the CEO of Foreigner.
Yeah, exactly. Got it. So he's not like performing with the band. So if you go see the band that's labeled as Foreigner, there's really we have the bassist from Dokken in that band. It's like
the singer from Hurricane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You basically have a band of great musicians who play the songs amazingly, but you're not seeing Foreigner. That's not the Foreigner that you know.
They do sound great live.
Yeah. Kiss is half replacement artists too. I mean, there's not like there's like anybody, they've Gene and Paul in there, and then you have like these other people who, so it's like not really, but they're playing the characters, which is weird. They're playing Ace Frehley and the Peter Criss characters.
And that's a cool angle with Kiss. Paul Stanley in an interview floated the idea that there don't need to be any original members in Kiss.
Yeah, and I think we might be moving towards a future like that, because I don't know if your experience with students is similar to mine, but like a lot of the stuff those guys are listening to, like God, even Judas Priest, I'm thinking about it now. It's literally just there's not even any original guitar players in the band anymore. No, or the drummer. There's just the bassist Ian Hill, and there's Rob Halford. You got Richie Faulkner, who's been in the band for a while and has recorded a couple records with them, and he's great. But then they have freaking Andy Sneap on guitar.
Andy Sneap, that's right.
And of course, the drummer is the drummer from Racer X, who's an amazing drummer. But he's not like the original guy, you know what I mean? So
Scott Travis is such a great guy.
It's kind of like Queensryche. There's only 2 original members in that band, you know what I mean? And if that doesn't mean they're not making great stuff. I thought Firepower was an awesome record. It was great, classic Judas Priest, even though it wasn't made by the guys who originally did it. So I don't know. I guess the question becomes like, does it matter if they're making great new music and it's kick ass and it sounds like the classic music? I mean,
I think your point about Mick Jones being the am I getting his name right?
Mick Jones.
It's Mick Jones, right? Yeah. So Mick Jones being the CEO of Foreigner, you have to have the company there to ensure the authenticity of what you're getting.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that's what I was going towards that, and I got sidetracked. I think about Judas Priest, but I think that we're heading towards that because a lot of my students and your students probably are really into the classic music. But a lot of those artists are getting up there, like to the point where like they're not going to even be with us 10 years from now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so they obviously, let alone tour, or if they can, even though they're still with us, they're not going to be touring in their mid 80s. Let's say, that kind of thing. That's going to go away. So I think we're moving towards a world where we're going to have a bunch of like licensed tribute bands or like officially be like, whatever they want to say.
Officially
hands have been put on. And
yeah.
And then we're going to have a bunch of like touring acts calling themselves Judas Priest and Foreigner and, Scorpions and Whitesnake, whatever it might be. But it's not going to be any even pretending to be original members or anything like that.
It'd be like going to see a Broadway show that doesn't have the original cast.
Yeah, but it's still going to be the same show. You know what I mean? And so I think we're moving towards a world of like officially licensed sort of like cover bands that are going to be like, the real, this is Whitesnake. They're going to call themselves Whitesnake or they're going to call themselves Foreigner, whoever, AC/DC. We're going to go towards that. Those guys who survive will just get they'll basically make the money and then they'll pay the guys like a touring band would.
I think that works better for Kiss. I can't imagine. Well, I mean, I guess they could have Ripper Owens come back to Judas Priest, and
I'm sure they could find someone who can nail the Rob Halford parts, and they can have.
Well, they could. I mean, but Ripper was actually in the band for a while.
But if you look at like those tribute bands, like the Pink Floyd tribute, and the Beatles tribute bands who do the whole look and they'll do the whole thing, it's like a pretty good facsimile, and it really sounds just like the record sound. They
playing much smaller venues though. I'm talking about doing, I'd say, packing arenas.
I mean, I guess it's going to be either that or nothing. It's like there's either no version of Whitesnake or Foreigner or Bon Jovi or whoever, or there's
that's it.
But what's cool about it in a way is you could sort of pick your version of that band. Like I want to see Slippery When Wet version of Bon Jovi, and then you'll have like the band that tours as the Slippery When Wet Bon Jovi. That'll be like I want to see the Leap of Faith Bon Jovi. You can have like this tour is going to be this era and we're going to look like that and play the instruments from that era. Or we're going to have the Van Halen 2 Van Halen tribute band, then we'll have the 5150 Van Halen tribute band. You know what I mean? It's like you'll have the different eras of the band sort of thing, and I think that we're moving in that direction where that's going to become a thing because. Unfortunately, because I think those bands made it big and made their impact at a time when radio and music was still central to pop culture. And I think now music has become so kind of pushed to the periphery of pop culture that it's not something that everyone like grabs a hold of. So all the newer bands don't have the option of becoming like a central thing that's going to be part of everyone's life. It's going to be part of like this niche life of certain people and certain people and certain people that isn't going to kind of cross over.
Yeah, hard rock and metal in the United States is underground again.
That it has been for 20 years. Yeah. But that being said, like even mainstream music is the same sort of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Beyonce tribute acts in 35 years. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I think any artist who like made a big splash that's got a major pop culture currency is going to end up doing something like that. And then all the other artists will just be like the rest of us. Just you'll put your records and you'll do whatever playing you can live, and you'll try and
Man, can you imagine how fast the cease and desist would show up if someone were out there doing a Beyonce tribute?
I know, but I'm saying it'll be like officially licensed, like the Kiss thing.
Yeah.
It'll be like an officially licensed Beyonce tribute.
Yeah, I think Kiss is a thing that's gonna. It's going to continue somehow.
I agree. And I think that's not just them. I think that's the tip of the iceberg. There's like a ton of others that are going to follow suit, and it's going to be like that. And you'll see.
And I think Kiss is a good example. Like Kiss has to happen at an arena. Yeah,
and Foreigner too. Same thing. That's kind of, to me, that's the canary in the coal mine right there. Like the idea that you can have a touring band called Foreigner with no original members at all.
A touring band called Foreigner, populated by band foreigners.
Yeah, exactly.
They're all foreigners to the original lineup.
I just saw a headline the other day that says Leonard Skinner pays tribute to Gary Rossington when he passed away. I'm like, well, wait, wasn't he the only original member? Who's the Leonard Skinner that's paying tribute to?
The Van Zant guy just die?
No, he's still alive. It's Gary Rossington that died.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
But anyway, that was the last surviving original member of Leonard Skinner. But it says Leonard Skinner pays tribute to Gary Rossington.
And hey, you know what? Jim Dandy Mangrum is still out there playing shows. Just go see Black Oak, Arkansas.
Yes. By the way, Sean Lane was in that band for a while.
I know.
That's insane. That you think about that.
Totally insane. I can only imagine what a Black Oak, Arkansas
with Sean Lane on guitar.
There's some '80s stuff from Black Oak, Arkansas that rips.
Yeah, I bet. Because Sean Lane was a monster, dude, for sure.
No, dude, no doubt.
Yeah. But anyway, that's I think we're kind of moving in that direction, though. We're like, I'm also thinking, like, who is this Leonard Skinner that's paying tribute? Like, isn't he the only guy that's left from that band? I mean, like, who is the Leonard Skinner that's paying tribute to him? It's weird.
Well, I think the other thing too, there's gonna I'm sure you could. So Ozzy's essentially retired.
Yeah, I mean, whether he knows it or not.
You're right, right. But you could still go see Black Label Society and probably hear some Ozzy tunes or some Black.
That would be an amazing
tunes.
tour if you got together like Joe Holmes and Gus G and Ozzy and Jake. I'm sorry, Zach and Jake.
Yeah,
and went and toured with like a couple different singers, and like they wouldn't play like the Ozzy catalog. How great would that be?
Oh, it'd be great. Yeah. Have him headline with Generations of Whitesnake or something.
Yeah, exactly. We could have like a Tommy Aldridge play with like Jake. And then have like maybe Joe do the Randy stuff, You know
Dude,
what I mean?
Tommy Aldridge could play the whole gig.
Well, no, but then you also want to bring in like Mike Borden and play drums with Zach and stuff like that because that's more legit for his era. You know what I mean? Actually, Randy Castillo can't play anymore.
Unfortunately, man, I loved Randy Castillo.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is you could put together a pretty bitchin' tour and have like Joe almost come out and do the Ozzy or do the Randy stuff because he was Randy's student, right? And played with Ozzy, and then have him come back and do some of the Down to Earth stuff and Osmosis stuff too. You know, and have him do the beginning and end, and have Jake do like the Bark at the Moon Ultimate Sin section, and then have Zach come in and do the No Rest for the Wicked, No More Tears section. You know what I mean? And then have Joe come back and do a couple like Down to Earth, and then him and Zach can do like the Osmosis stuff, and then
I think it's great.
And then have a freaking like a jam at the end with all of them, and have Gus come out and do a couple songs from Scream, you know, that kind of thing, and that'd be really cool, man. I think
something like that has to have floated around somewhere.
That's a great idea. Like I don't know why that isn't happening. You know, it's like the Van Halen thing we talked about, the tribute to Eddie. We're going to bring Satriani in the play and have like Roth and Sammy both, and Gary Sharon come and do vocals. Like that would be a great tour. Have Alex and Mike, and then have Satch play guitar, and then and bring in freaking other singers and go tour, and tribute Van Halen. I mean, that'd be incredible.
That'd be great.
There's no way that's going to happen. But
there was talk, I thought, of some. I think Wolfgang, shot. He didn't shoot it down, but he let it be known that wasn't happening.
Yeah, well, because Roth won't do it. That's basically what it comes down to. I don't know what he's doing otherwise. He's like canceling shows from his Vegas residency.
Yeah, he's not getting younger either.
He had an opportunity a couple years ago because I guess the original Even Smile band was going to get together and play at the Strikes down in Hollywood. And apparently they were literally on stage ready to go on. And then apparently there's like 6,000 people there to see it, and they had to shut it down. It's like a freaking bowling alley, basically. It's like a jam place, and it was going to be Vi and Bissonette and Billy Sheehan.
Wow.
And they were going to go. There was basically they had to shut it down as it was going to like be at risk to the people there. So many people in that place.
Wow.
And then Ross like, I guess we can't play tonight. Well, we're just too popular, haha. And then nothing happened. And then both Vi and Billy were like, dude, we should totally like go tour. We could, and nothing. And that was like a window for this, like maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, this could happen.
That's brutal.
And the fact that it didn't happen is such a crime. You know what I mean? And the fact that when Eddie was alive, that there was that plan to do the Roth and Hagar tour. They're going to go and flip flop back and forth like 3 songs each
Dave
or something.
Didn't want to do that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. How does that hurt you if you have confidence in your material? I mean,
Dave Lee Roth doesn't want to be the co-banana. I was going to say second banana.
I guess, but get over yourself, dude. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do otherwise? You're going to
we're talking about David Lee Roth.
You're going to go play at half-filled Vegas ballrooms, or you can go fucking tours arenas with Van Halen. That just doesn't make any sense to me, like what he's doing. I don't know. To me, I guess at some point you have to have enough self-awareness. Yeah, it's David Lee Roth. Thanks for listening to Rock Guitar Confidential with Ryan and Scott. Please make sure to mash that like button and subscribe to this podcast. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I guess you're right.
Because
Because Sammy would have done it. Sammy's like, dude, whatever. Yeah, that's cool. And he's also confident. I think you can tell like who doesn't have the confidence in themselves. Like Sammy's like, I'll go out and sing with whoever. It doesn't matter. And Dave's just like, nope, I want to be the only show in town. And I guess because it's zippity bop, boobly bop.
he's just a gigolo.
I guess so.
But
I love, dude, there's no bigger Van Halen fan in the world. And I love what he sang on those records. And I love his whole vibe back in the day. I thought it was cool. I think it's very difficult to be a 70-year-old David Lee Roth.
It's got to, it has to be a nightmare.
It's awesome to be like a 21 or 29, 30-year-old David Lee Roth. That's like the best. You're like the god of the
like, how do you top that?
Yeah. So but when you're 70 trying to be David Lee Roth, it's like, who is he now? He doesn't know who he is anymore. You know what I mean? He's not that guy anymore.
It's rough.
And he's not like an older. Coverdale has kind of like become like an icon. Like I'm just a classic rock star now. You know what I mean? I'm like a throwback to the olden days, like rock gods, but I'm an elder statesman rock god. You know what I mean?
Well, and even Coverdale's kind of hanging it up, isn't he?
He is, but he's for a long time has still held that flag up, and I'm still the rock god, but I'm not like the young guy anymore. I'm like the older, I'm like the old lion.
The elder statesman.
I'm the old lion. I'm not the old young lion. You know what I mean? But he's cool with that. He kind of owns that. You know what I mean?
Does.
And I think that Halford's like that. Bruce Dickinson's like that. These guys will kind of Dio right to the end, just like that. You know what I mean?
Dio just always was Dio, man. Yeah. There was never any drop off in his vocal ability. Yep. He just seemed like Ronnie James Dio really, from afar, seemed like he was always the same dude.
Yeah,
I love that about Ronnie.
Yeah.
I think that
and
contributes to his legend.
grateful, like when he was doing the heaven and hell thing at the end, that he was grateful to be playing with Iommi and Geezer and those guys. He thought that was like really cool.
And just murdering it too.
Yep. But Roth, I think, doesn't know, and you can see in the last like 2 Van Halen tours that they did before Eddie passed, is he didn't really know what to be on stage anymore. So he kind of did like cabaret thing, and like I don't know what we're looking at here. It was like. Because he can't be the jumping off the risers guy anymore, swinging swords.
Yeah, no more katana for you, Dave.
And he's not like a good enough singer to just stand and sing, but he can't really move, and he doesn't know how to not move on stage. So he's kind of
It's got to be tough.
It's like a dude who doesn't know who they are anymore.
You know what? Just sing the parts and let everyone enjoy Eddie.
Yeah, I think that's what you kind of do. You kind of like, okay, have you ever heard the Live in Tokyo? The Live at the Tokyo Dome Van Halen album that they did with Roth from like the 2012 or 2014 tour or whatever it was.
I'm sure I heard parts of it.
It's hard, man. It's hard to get through. I mean, the guitar, everything else sounds awesome. Eddie's killing, and the band sounds great. And then Roth's just like doing whatever he can on these. It was like,
oh my god, he turned into Eddie Vedder.
It was embarrassing, like because he was just couldn't hit the notes at all, and he would just sort of like randomly.
So he Eddie Veddered it.
No, he didn't do that, but he would like stop talking and stop singing and start going. Hey, it was actually creepy. He's like, he'd look at the girl like, hey, what's up, hot stuff? And I'm like going, dude, you're like 66 years old now. You shouldn't be looking at a girl in the front row saying, what's up, hot stuff. That's kind of creepy and gross. You should have some self-awareness to know that that's not what you're doing anymore. And I'm going to fuck your girlfriend. It's like, you're very old. That's not, that's not going to happen anymore. You got to own where you are now. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's that was really tough. I mean, I think, and I've floated this before on this podcast, like the idea of like Michael Starr singing for Van Halen back then. I've been so in favor of that. Would have been incredible to build. Ralph, be able to sing like that. He would have done an amazing job. And I think that's something that they should have seriously considered, or just get back with Sammy, who can still do it. You know what I mean? And Sammy doesn't try and be.
You know what?
Sammy
Someone call Mitch Malloy. Have him.
He's busy singing with Great White. Come on.
Is he?
He was. He's already in and out of that band. He's already kind of gone from Great White. Great White has a like revolving door.
I kind of never really was a Great White fan.
I actually am. I have a fan of a lot of their stuff. Actually, I think from Once Bitten all the way through like Hooked.
Yeah, I never need to hear Once Bitten, Twice Shy again.
No, frankly, you could argue we never needed to hear it in the first place. But
thank you. We never did.
But there's a lot of it. Missed a Bone, House of Broken Love.
Missed a Bone was
there's some good tunes, dude.
But,
yeah.
Oh man.
I'm actually a fan of Mark Kindle's playing. I think he's playing a lot. Actually.
I don't think he's a bad player. Jack Russell, I couldn't do it.
Well. That revolving door of the singers is dangerous for him because he has a colostomy bag now. So,
well then,
from the renal failure that he's brought on from years of drug abuse and alcohol. So,
right,
it's doesn't end well typically for that kind of thing.
No, not at all.
Speaking, that's another band. Like, there's basically 3 of the guys. There's Michael Lardy, there's Mark Kindle, and Audie Despero. And then that's nobody else in the band is original. The bassist and the vocalist are not the original members of that band.
You know what we need, and obviously they're not going to have the original drummer. We need one more Spinal Tap tour.
Well, they couldn't. They'd have to have like 10 drummers to be authentic.
Totally.
You know what's funny?
A new drummer could
here's an
turn
adjacent
to a little globule.
Here's an adjacent thought. Like, what do you think about when there's 2 versions of a band out there? Like, there's 2 LA Guns right now. And then there's Great White, and then there's Jack Russell's Great White. There's Queensryche, and then there's Jeff Tate's Queensryche.
Okay, so I think the LA Guns with Tracy Guns and vocals Phil Lewis.
Yeah, those guys are legit.
That's the LA. Yeah, their last album ripped.
Yeah. Well, Tracy Guns is a great guitar player.
And I think they have another one coming out.
By the way, he's also dating Orianthi now. Do you know that?
Well, there we go.
Yeah, because apparently she can't get enough 60-year-old rock guys. So.
I guess. Well, that's got to be different than Richie Sambora.
Yeah, he was like 64. So he's going for younger dudes now.
She's a Beatles fan. She still loves him when he's 64.
Yeah,
so
McCartney should be that'll be the next one. Orianthi dating McCartney.
Right.
Yeah. No. Unfortunately, he has an ironclad prenup. It's not going to work out.
So many ways. So many.
But now, how do you feel about when there's multiple versions of the band, though?
Man. Well, if it's just me personally, if we're talking about the Queensryche thing, I want the one with Michael Wilton in it.
And the singer who can sing like well.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I wish it were Jeff Tate, like prime Jeff Tate, or even close to prime Jeff Tate.
Yeah, but if anybody heard like
Todd LaTorre's awesome.
He's awesome, and they write great stuff with him too. Like the stuff that he writes with him is incredibly good.
I would rather have a version of Queensryche that had Michael Wilton and Chris DeGarmo in it, and then I don't care who else is
and
in
Eddie
it.
Jackson. Eddie Jackson's
Scott Rockenfield. That would be great.
Yeah, but who knows what's going on with him? He's got some kind of gone off the deep end kind of thing.
Yeah, right. So just give me Michael Wilton and Chris DeGarmo.
Yep.
That's what I want.
I think Eddie Jackson's an underrated part of that band. His backup vocals and his
awesome.
bass is killer, man.
Look, you have to be awesome to
be in that band.
Be in Queensryche,
and
no doubt.
LaTorre is an awesome singer.
He really is.
But I mean, I don't think people see the Jeff Tate thing. It's more like a cabaret show. It's like of him sort of crooning the Queensryche.
He went to the David Lee Roth School of frontman.
The Queensryche classics re-envisioned by like Frank Sinatra, sort of. You know, it's like. You know, I think that's actually. A side note on that too is it's weird when there's a band who gets famous for something that everyone loves and then they move away from that and they don't like that music anymore and they don't want to sing that anymore, but they know their only way to like pay the bills is to sing that stuff. Dawkins like that. Like Don Dawkins, I'm sure would really rather not be singing "It's Not Love" or "In My Dreams"
I
anymore.
think Don Dawkins didn't he hang it up too?
Not really. No, they're still touring.
There was some really rough live stuff.
Oh, nothing but for the last couple of years. But he and Lynch are still like touring, like with Lynch Mob opening for Dawkins, and like he'll like come out and play a couple songs.
Oh, okay, because I thought Reb was still
Reb was
Dawkins.
Reb was out of that band like in '99. I want to say.
I think he's been touring. He's done some touring with Dawkins.
Oh no, he did a couple shows with Dawkins when Lynch, but they're still on good terms. He's not like recording or playing with that band. But the
I
guitar
can't imagine anybody being on bad terms with Reb.
The guitar player in Dawkins is John Levin, who's fucking great. That guy's a great guitar. He does Lynch better than Lynch.
Yeah, is he the dude that they brought in? There was that one album where the guitar player just sounded exactly
the last
like George
few
Lynch.
Dawkins albums have been him on guitar.
It's that guy. Cool.
He's
awesome.
Great. He's an awesome guitar player. He's killer. He plays like prime George Lynch. That's his style.
It's crazy. It's nuts.
He plays more like Lynch than Lynch plays like Lynch.
Agreed.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that mean, and what's funny though, I think I talked about this on one of their podcasts with those two. Is like you can just see like, all right, here's what you guys want to see. It's kind of that's the vibe they have. Like, all right, here's It's Not Love. Jeez, all right, yeah. And Lynch like, yeah,
maybe it is love. Whatever.
Here's that solo, fine. You know, it's like I'll play it like I did in the '80s, like I was, all gacked up on cocaine back then, whatever, dude. And he just has that kind of.
Well, so
fine.
Get the man some blow.
Yeah, but I just, it makes me so sad to see because like the thing that people love them for, they really don't associate with themselves anymore. And
well, you can't blame them. I mean, how many times? Playing out in like cover bands and there's so many songs I don't ever want to play again.
You know, I can tell you from playing because I've only played original music. Well, I mean, I had one band I played some covers in for a while, but the bands my solo band especially, I play songs that I recorded back in like 2002. And I still love playing those live. You know what I mean? Because it's so cool. I know the person I'm playing. Maybe there's some people in the room who didn't hear it before, but there's some people they'd never heard it before.
You heard it for the first time,
exactly. So it's like, okay, that's a cool thing. You know, I think that's exciting. You know, and I think when you created a legacy like those guys, you know, I think with Stephen Pearcy, for all of his failings, he gets it. Like when he goes out there, he gets it when he's playing with the solo band, when he plays Round and Round or It's Not, or You're in Love or You're in Trouble.
Wanted Man.
Yeah, that he knows that's like that's his legacy, man. That's his calling card.
He embraces it. He's not tired of it.
Exactly.
He
Scorpions, same thing. Scorpions are like totally proud to go out and play No One Like You and Rock Like a Hurricane and stuff. That's like they know but that's what they know that people. They're proud of that legacy. They're not.
Should be.
They're not trying to walk away from it. I think the guys in like there's a few bands like that, like Dawkins, who like they kind of don't see themselves as that artist anymore. There's some different thing, but they feel trapped. They can't. But Metallica has been like that for a long time. They know that what people want.
They've been like that since like 1991.
Yeah, well, since like the Load years, and then they kind of like their comeback album. What was the one with the Broken, Beaten, and Scarred? What was that called? Death Magnetic.
Death Magnetic. Yeah,
that was their comeback album. But they kind of once they've lost that fire, they can't regain it.
Well, especially when Metallica is about aggression.
Yeah.
Right, so they've
been rich for decades.
Yeah, they've got nothing to be angry about. Yeah. So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think also Mustaine. That's why I think Mustaine's so impressive is that he still wakes up every day fucking pissed about something, like legitimately angry about the world. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I look at that and it's something I feel so bad. But some bands like your Aerosmiths, your AC/DCs, Guns N' Roses, those guys they go out, they own their legacy. You know, we talked about before. Scorpions, Iron Maiden, they go out there and they own their legacy.
Without a doubt.
You know, and Priest owns their legacy. But I think there's a few bands that feel like almost like they're bashful about their legacy.
Well, I think for a guy like Don Dawkins, I think there's serious physical ailment. happening with him.
And
right?
limitations in terms of vocals and stuff like that. And
sure. I mean, even, 23 or 24 years ago. Well, now I guess it's a long time ago. But, during the Red Beach iteration, like if you've ever seen like Live from the Sun.
Oh, yeah. It's great. Rep kills it, man.
Well, and Don kills it too.
Yeah. And so is Jeff and Mick and the whole band's killer.
Yeah, totally. Killer band. And I mean, that's still pretty far removed from the heyday of those classic songs.
Yeah, I guess you could, if you want to be generous, say like 91 was like the very end of the heyday of Dokken, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that kind of Beast from the East era, sort of, you know what I mean? Which is a great live album. That's one of my favorite live albums of all time. Is Beast from the East from Dokken.
So good.
All the classic Dokken stuff. Just Lynch is just shredding this amazing tone.
You know who embraces their legacy?
Who?
King Diamond.
Well, that's true.
Love it. He releases new albums. He keeps Merciful Fate rolling. Yeah. There's going to be new albums dropping soon, but they'll still go out and they'll do the full stage show with all the fan favorite songs. Like King just embraces the whole enchilada.
You know what's funny is that there's other bands though that like are kind of in and out of like Anthrax is a band that sort of sometimes embraces their legacy and sometimes doesn't, depending on on which way the wind's blowing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we are original OG thrash band. Oh no, we're like this rap band that played with the Public Enemy. What are you talking about? No, we're really kind of punk. Really? No, wait,
they were always all of those things all at once.
Yeah, it depends on who they're talking to and which way the wind's blowing.
I'm going to defend Anthrax on that one. I think they're kind of always all those things.
I don't know, man. I feel like they're kind of jumping on it. But
this may come as a shot to you, but Anthrax ultimately is my favorite of the big four.
I can't even believe I'm hearing you say that.
I know it's supposed to be
have heard
Megadeth.
of Megadeth, right?
I have, but man, Dave just kind of annoys me. I love Marty Friedman as a guitar player.
And Chris Poland and Al Petrelli and
totally. I love those guitar players, but
Chris Broderick and
like
Kiko Lorio.
Dave's not my favorite singer.
He's such a great player, though, man. His riffs are so great.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He is. But I have a deep and abiding love for Anthrax.
I like two albums from Anthrax a lot. Obviously, Among the Living is a killer. And I'm a big fan of State of Euphoria.
Love State of Euphoria.
And those are my two favorite Anthrax. I think that when Spitz was in the band, they actually wrote great stuff. And Charlie Benante was writing the songs, strangely enough.
Yeah, well, Joey Belladonna, great singer, man.
Yeah, I like Anthrax. I don't have a problem. But during like the John Bush late '90s era, they try to pretend like we were never really a thrash band. We're always been kind of.
But at least they got John Bush from Armored Saint. Yeah, there's worse singers you could.
Yeah, that's true. And I like Armored Saint very much too. But I remember thinking like, come on, guys. We need somebody besides Zach and Dimebag to wave the flag for metal at this. I know it's 99. You guys are being pussies about being.
Hey, at least they survived. It was still heavy. It wasn't. It certainly wasn't grunge.
It wasn't good though either. You know what I mean? It was.
I don't know. Black Lodge isn't that bad.
I don't know, man. But then there's other bands too, like who are like, let's say, not embracing. Like Def Leppard's one of those bands who doesn't really embrace their full legacy as a band. They kind of say we are really just pyromania and hysteria. That's kind of what we are, you know. And then they
I am an On Through the Night fan.
But they don't play. They'll play like two songs from High and Dry. They play like Bring On the Heartbreak, and they'll do like the instrumental. This was it, Switch 562 or something. Like that,
yeah.
They'll play those two songs as like segues, and then that's like the only things they play off of High and Dry. You know, and then they don't play anything off of On Through the Night, and they really don't play anything after Hysteria. It's like,
well, I kind of can't blame them too much on that. Now,
well, there's some good stuff, man.
They did try to go
stuff.
Grunge on Slang, where they tried to embrace the whole thing or chase the trend.
Yeah. What they'll say, they'll tell themselves is we're trying to just be modern. We're trying to not be stuck in a thing that we did before, but I think that's bullshit too. And I think that to me that's always annoying when I see like Dokken, being kind of bashful about being what they are. And Lynch is always talking about how much he hated the '80s, and he's like, oh, I'm embarrassed by what I was wearing, and I was just playing all these notes, and my tone sucked, and all this stuff. It's like, no, dude, your tone was fucking awesome. Back then.
Well, dude, yeah.
Now your tone sucks now, but it was awesome then. You know what I mean? That was way better. Like, dude, you've never come close to Under Lock and Key since. You know what I mean? Nope. That's like the tone you should have stuck with your whole life. That was the best tone you ever had.
Agreed.
I guess that kind of pisses me off, is like, because I feel like you guys make great music. You should be proud of that great music you made.
You know who's a great rock band that embraces their legacy and works their butt off?
Warrant. Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
I gotta give it up to
really,
Joey
honestly,
and those
pretty
guys.
legit. They have all the original members with the exception of the singer, which is not way they couldn't have him anyway. So I mean, it's like they with Robert Mason.
But Robert Mason's killer, and the band is killer. Their drummer sings like an angel too. I mean, that's a really
it's the all original band with except the singer.
Solid rock band. Super nice guys too.
The problem with Warrant, though, why I think people kind of look at them a little bit side eyed is that not only was Janie the singer, he was also the primary songwriter in the band. So like most of the songs came from him too. You know what I mean? And that's something I think that like when they try and write Warranty songs, it doesn't really sound like Warrant as much the newer stuff because of the fact that they don't have that.
It is good, solid rock.
It is good. No, you're right.
Stuff, absolutely,
it definitely is. And Skid Row's in that same sort of boat where people would really associate the band with Sebastian Bach, even though all the writers were always like Snake, Scotty, and Rachel. You know what I mean? That's the band. That's the guys who wrote all the music.
I really wish it had worked out with Skid Row and Tony Arnell.
Oh yeah. Well,
I really wish.
I'm glad Tony's back in TNT now, so that's where he should be.
So I just hopefully TNT will announce a North American tour, and then I can buy tickets, and then the date will get postponed.
Yes, exactly. Because they couldn't get their visas worked out to get into the country.
I think I'm actually, if Queensryche doesn't happen coming up this week, then I don't know. Maybe I'll just become a ticket owner.
Exactly. Just buy the tickets to have the tickets. That's
totally. That way I can be like, hey, I've got Loudness.
Think of them as NFTs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've gotten so used to the idea of going to see Loudness.
Maybe that's what it is. It's like a platonic ideal. The ideal of seeing a show. You know what I mean?
I purchase hope for the future.
So what do you think though? Like, do you think I don't necessarily think there's any one way. I think every band situation is different in terms of like original members, not original members.
Yep.
I kind of, my gut feeling, I'll throw it out there, is I feel like it's better to have the band than not have the band.
Yep, I 100% agree.
You know what I mean? Whatever iteration that ends up taking, you know what I mean? And also, would you rather have the original member if like it was Don Dokken who can't do it anymore? Or would you rather have a guy who's like a Todd LaTorre who does it better than the original guy by about 100 miles,
so are there any original members?
Like, let's say like the guitar player and the drummer, or the guitar player and the bass player are original. The drummer is maybe different, or the bass player is different, but they have a new singer who sings just like prime Don Dokken, just like prime Jeff Tate, like because that's kind of Queensryche's got it going on. They have the important members there. They have the singer who sings Tate better than Tate.
You know what? It would be cool if Don had like a son like John Dokken.
Oh, like Nick Brown's brother, right?
Yeah, totally. So just give me Dokken with John Dokken. on lead vocals. That would be fine by me, because then there'd be the legacy thing.
That's funny. It's almost like Jason Bonham sort of thing. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, this is Bonham. He's Bonham's on drums. This is Bonham. He's right
absolutely. There. Absolutely.
I think for me, I'd rather see a guy who could crush. Like if Van Halen had literally toured, like when Eddie was still alive with Ralph as the singer, that would have been so much better than what we got with Roth. You know
totally. I mean? And there still would have been Wolfgang up there with the family.
I would get freaking Michael back and tour with Ralph. You know what I mean? That's what they should have done. But I mean, I don't know what's up with that. But I don't know. To me, that's a more legit Van Halen than getting a geriatric David Lee Roth to sort of ramble along the stage and say inappropriate things.
Yeah, well, like again, doesn't David Lee Roth have a son? Maybe there could be like Daniel Lee Roth.
I don't think he does.
I don't know. Man, there's got to be some of these rock stars have to have progeny that could
usher in the next generation.
Right.
No, they're just going to have to say like, we've discovered that this person, like the Maury Povich show, will have always still announced you are the father.
You are the father. Yeah, totally. Or if it's Scorpions, you are the father.
Yeah, you're the father. Yeah. The cat is purring. She scratched my skin, and now, you are here.
Totally. So now, in terms of your previous idea of having all the great guitar players together, whatever happened to the G3 tour? Is that still a thing?
I think what happened to is that Steve Vai started doing the Generation X tour.
Okay, is that still happening?
I mean, not at the moment. I think he's touring his solo stuff now, but I think when he did the Generation X tour, I'm not sure if there was any hard feelings between him and Joe, but it was kind of like a similar idea to what the G3 was.
Yeah.
So it seemed kind of like a competing sort of thing.
I mean, it's not like he called it G4.
No, I mean, but he kind of took the idea and then he's like, let's have them all. And he did slightly, to his credit, he did something a little different. They did like, each guy would come out and jam with the next guy, and they would do like a song together, and then they do like 2 songs with their thing. And so it was a different sort of animal than G3.
Yeah, more evolved iteration.
Yeah. But that being said, I think that I got a feeling that Joe was a little bit like not happy that he came out and did that, because they had their own little brand that they kind of, him and Vi would do together with G3.
Well, maybe the two different planets where they come from had a diplomatic falling out.
But I hope to see some more of that in the future. And it seems like the last G3 they did was with John Petrucci and Phil Collin. So that was cool. That was a very cool mix.
Yeah, Phil Collins totally underrated.
He's a great guitar player.
Yeah, great guitar
watch the
player,
G3 stuff you see, you can totally do it, man. And great performer. I think that's the thing that people don't understand, how great of a performer that guy is. He plays arenas and stadiums for 35 years, whatever. I mean, you're gonna get some moves. You know what I mean?
That's just what he does for a living. He's great.
Totally outclasses Petrucci in that regard. Like Petrucci is not even close to the performer that Phil Collins is,
right?
Or Satriani for that matter. Neither of those guys have ever had that kind of front. You
have to mastering interacting with the crowd.
Yeah, and then being
stuff.
A great performer and projection and stuff like that. And those guys are also amazing guitar players and good performers, not bad performers, but they're not like that level. You know what I mean? And that was an interesting mix. It was very cool to see Phil Collin outside of the confines of Def Leppard just jamming out with these other guys. That was actually pretty cool.
You know what? I want to see Phil Collin I want to see him join Scorpions.
Really?
That would be cool.
That would be cool. I mean, I think he fit right in.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but I think Matthias is such a great player, man. I think honestly, speaking of underrated players, and we'll have to wrap it up here in a second because we're going long in the tooth on this one. But Matthias Jabs is a really good guitar player. Matthias Jabs.
He really is. Totally
He's a great guitar player. I was actually just listening to No One Like You the other day, and I was listening to his solo. I'm like, how tasty! It's ripping and it tasteful at the same time.
Dude, there are some moments on the upcoming Ex Aegis album with the harmony guitars that make me think about that.
Yep, I agree. But I think that his playing, though, everyone's always, Schenker or Uli Roth. It's like, dude, I think Matthias played killer stuff.
Totally killer. He was the right guy for the band at that time.
I think his stuff's arguably more memorable than the stuff those other guys played.
Well, it was designed to be memorable.
Exactly. But also, it's still ripped, too. It wasn't like it wasn't ripping. It was ripping, and it was memorable, too. So I look at that. He's got the whole package. There's nothing that guy's missing. And I'd rather listening to Matthias than like the Uli stuff, personally.
I wish we could just take all the guys that are still at the peak of their game and let's just wrap them all up into one band.
Exactly.
I don't care there's 20 people on stage, but just 20, 30 member touring band. Everybody just play all the songs.
I'm sure that'll be perfect.
I'm sure that would
be a mess at all. That's like the Kings of Chaos thing. You know about that tour that Matt Sorum does?
No.
He'll have it'll be different iterations, but it'll be like Steve Stevens and a couple of people with it'll be Sebastian Bach singing and bringing Duff play bass and stuff like that, and they'll go tour like South America.
Man, what's going on with the Cult? I would love to see the Cult. Sonic Temple is as close to a perfect big rock album as I can
Electric's
think of.
great too. Electric's a killer.
Sure, it is absolutely.
But they're not really that band anymore though. They're kind of doing this stuff that's not really, it's almost like it reminds me of mid 70s sort of like pop rock kind of mixed with punk.
Just give me one tour with Pyro. And
I don't think they're that band anymore, dude. I think that was only a short time in the late 80s, early 90s.
It was Rick Rubin,
Yeah, but they were awesome. They were great. And
so good.
But I wonder why is it, and even funny, I'm sure they're still closing their set with Firewoman. I'm sure they are. You know what I mean? That one big hit that
it's kind of more like the jazz version, the smooth jazz
exactly.
version.
We're going to play this on an ES335 through a JC120, and we're not going to really,
to be fair, Billy Duffy always played the Gretsch.
That's not fair at all. It's not fair to anybody.
What do they call it?
He was the Billy Duffy that I fell in love with was the Les Paul through Marshall Billy Duffy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's the one I thought. So anyway, on that note, guys, what do you think? At some point, you'll be able to leave responses. And what do you think it's cool when bands have all original members, no original members? What do you think's going on with that?
I think we agreed that we're gonna take it how we can get it if it's quality playing and quality performance. Yep.
The best way to let us know is to buy as many copies of the Ex Aegis album as you can, and make sure you rate this with at least 7 to 10 stars.
7 to 10.
Yep.
Yes,
that's the best way to let us know that you.
You mean 7 plus 10, so 17 stars.
Exactly right.
Yes,
so
that's right.
Get on that, guys. Thank you for listening. This is the Rock Guitar Confidential Podcast with Ryan and Scott. Please make sure to subscribe and like this, and check out our socials and the website. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Peace.